Dad, what's for dinner? This is a question that my wife and I have been answering for 23 years every single day. It might be at breakfast and we hear somebody down the hall go, Dad, what's for dinner? Is this familiar? I can see a few head nods in the room, so many of you may have heard this question as well. But how often have you found yourself opening your refrigerator or standing in the supermarket aisle trying to figure out what's for dinner, but feeling completely uninspired or exhausted? People make food choices for three main reasons. Mostly for taste, whether it's delicious and familiar, followed by convenience, whether it's easy to prepare, and then because of price. Can I afford it? Modern food marketing and manufacturing know this is how we decide what's for dinner. And they use all kinds of ingredients, unnatural chemicals to push the boundaries of what food actually is. Our once vibrant diets that were plant-rich and seasonal have been simplified into a diet reliant on 4 staple crops: corn, rice, wheat, and potatoes. Only 4. That's kind of boring if you ask me, especially when there's over 30,000 edible crops on our planet. Our food systems have been optimized. They've been optimized for profit, to keep production costs low and efficiency high, to fill stomachs, not sustain health, to drive yield, not resilience. This has led to over-industrialization, depleted soils, and unsustainable, unequal diets that are undermining the health of our planet for humans as well. The impacts are extreme. You've probably heard some current stats, but poor diets cause approximately 15 million avoidable deaths each year, as undernutrition, obesity, and non-communicable diseases continue to rise at alarming rates. 2.8 billion people cannot afford a healthy diet. 2.8 billion people. And a third of all greenhouse gases, gas emissions, come from our food system. This means that what we eat and how it's produced is the second largest contributor to climate change behind our energy systems. We do grow enough calories to feed everyone, more than enough. We're just not growing or eating enough of the right foods to keep both humans and our planet healthy. So, friends, we stand at a critical point in human history. The problems that we face are great, and it feels hard to imagine that there's some simple solutions to some of the biggest problems. How can we feed a world nutritiously and affordably that's growing faster than ever? How can we tackle the climate crisis from our dinner table? I've been advocating on food system transformation for over 30 years through international NGOs, inside and outside the United Nations, and as the CEO of the Sustainable Development Goal 2 Advocacy Hub, which is a mouthful, I know that the solutions are frequently complicated, expensive, and frankly cannot be scaled fast enough. So you might be thinking we only need a fantastic new technology conceived by some of our greatest minds. But I would argue that we don't. Sometimes there's solutions right in front of us. So, how can we enjoy delicious, nutritious, affordable food that doesn't cost the earth? How can our decision about what's for dinner be part of the solution? Beans is how. Honestly, right now, I'd love to have a total Oprah moment, running across the stage shouting, "You get a bean, you get a bean, you get a bean." I am so passionate about beans. I even got them tattooed down my arm. That's how passionate I am about this tiny but mighty solution. These incredible crops include beans, peas, and lentils. Were one of the first cultivated by humans. They're found in almost every single culture. They're not just for vegetarians or those on a budget. They're affordable, convenient, and the perfect food choice that is kind to our bodies, the planet, and our wallets. Beans are our nutritionist's dream. They're packed with protein, iron, and dietary fiber, which is really good for gut health. They're low in fat, they're cholesterol-free. They're also rich in vitamins and minerals, including potassium, iron, and B vitamins like folate. They're also often associated with chronic disease prevention, such as type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and they have lots of different health outcomes that you can go and have a look at. They're a farmer's friend. They use way less water than many crops. They can grow in degraded soils because they have nitrogen fixation abilities, and they reduce the need for some of the synthetic fertilizers, which can be a big challenge for pollution and biodiversity loss. They're often also more affordable and accessible, and one of the most widely consumed, versatile, shelf-stable food types. So if beans are such a great solution, then why aren't we seeing them everywhere? Beans have a perception issue, and farmers grow what's in demand. Processing, manufacturing, and markets haven't got enough demand to continue to invest. And billion-dollar marketing campaigns keep pushing the same old high-profit, low-nutrition, unsustainable foods. So, how can we reach citizens globally with this message, let alone make some of these ingredients desirable and accessible for everyone? Since 2022, the Beans is How campaigns work with bean companies, with chefs, with caterers around the world to fulfill that simple goal. Get more people excited about beans. And we've done this in so many different ways. The campaign's had some wins around the world. Chefs all over the world are joining us to change their hearts and minds on beans. The New York Times declared beans on the menu as the New York City food trend for 2025. We also in the UK had a caterer that feeds over 1 million meals a day, and they saw a 20% increase in bean consumption across their business in 1 year, whilst also increasing profit. We also have just had a nationwide campaign launch with chefs like Jamie Oliver in the UK last week. There's going to be another campaign in the US launching soon, and beans are being featured all over the world. So, at this point, when beans are everywhere and I'm throwing climate, ag, health stats at you guys might be thinking, this guy's making some interesting points, but what about this pot? Well, this seemingly innocent pot used to prompt loud groans from my teenagers. If the pot was on the stove, they knew it meant we were soaking beans for that night's dinner. My kids would disappear. They would try and do whatever they could to get out of the house. One kid would cook their own meal. Beans were seen as dad's work, not a delicious meal. But slowly, with black bean chilies, pasta fagioli, lentil bolognese, butter bean pesto, I've made that case. And now, beans and this pot is a source of beanspiration in our family. Instead of groans and mass exodus from the dinner table, it's now part of our family's food tradition. It's something that will remind my kids of home, and it also remind them of the culinary adventures we've experienced through our travels. And this journey shows change is possible. One household at a time with simple positive message of eat more delicious beans. So this campaign's an example of how we need to create desirability and perceived value in the best foods to meet these challenges that we face. And I'm not telling you only eat beans. Drop everything and just do that. There's tons of other ingredients out there that are delicious, nutrient-dense, and sustainable to grow. Things like teff, fonio, millets, seaweed, mushrooms. These are foods that use less water, they restore the soil, they help farmers and fishers to adapt to a changing climate. They're packed with all kinds of things you need, and they are going to help us to feed 10 billion people by 2050 a healthy diet. We need more diversity across our diets, and we need to shift how people perceive and value these incredible ingredients. This means working together to unlock the appetite, will, and investment required to bring them to scale. Most of all, we need people like you, citizens, change makers, to demand diverse, sustainable foods on your tables. And beans is how we start. So imagine this future with me, a future where instead of 4 staple crops dominating our diets, our plates are filled with diversity, a rainbow of delicious food that regenerates the planet whilst nourishing our bodies, supporting prosperity for all who grow it. Every single person in this room contributes to driving food systems. If we diversify our plates, we can feed 8 billion people living on this planet nutritiously now. If we choose ingredients like beans regularly, we can increase health outcomes and support our planet, our soil, water, and air. So how do we start? When you next get asked, what's for dinner, check your pantry staples or your grocery list and make some simple swaps. Swap beans for your standard ingredients, beans in place of rice or traditional pasta. Use chickpea flours. Switch the meat in your bolognese to lentils. Shift beans from a side to the star of the plate. The opportunities for creativity, deliciousness, cost savings are endless. And then keep trying one new local climate-friendly and nutritious ingredient for a week. And over 8 weeks, you'll build new habits. So next time somebody asks, what's for dinner? Tell everyone, beans, my friend, because beans is how.